I put forward someone who had worked most of her career in government, spent 7 years with Parliament New South Wales, and I was chatting with the hiring manager. He actually just said to me very bluntly, Carrie, you need to explain yourself here. I just don't see, I gave my reasons why. And anyway, she came out on top and she's still there nearly 5 years later. I spoke to someone yesterday who told me they used AI recently for a case study and they didn't fact check it. They didn't verify it and they sent it to the CEO and the information was wrong. You've got to really be careful. It could lead to issues with reputation and brands. Your LinkedIn is your digital story. It's your narrative. It is your voice. And I'm still hearing people say, I've been doing this for so long. People know who I am. That mindset is dangerous.
Outside of LinkedIn, or maybe even as it applies to LinkedIn, is there one piece of career advice that you find yourself giving often, but people are resistant to hearing? Welcome to or welcome back to Founders in Jeans. I'm your host, Emily Jean. And before we get into the episode, I just want to say a huge thank you so much for listening to my podcast. I also wanted to say that if you enjoy the show, feel free to leave a review on Spotify or Apple, wherever you're listening to this, and also to follow us. You can follow us on Spotify, of course. You can follow us on Instagram at Founders in Jeans. You can also find me on Instagram at emily.jeans, or you can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect with people on there, and I have a lot of good conversations from listeners. Also, you can always leave a bad review for us. I'm totally fine with that. And in fact, I think that's exciting. I would love to know what we can do to improve. So you can also leave comments below and let me know what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy. I actually do read every single one. We also have a newsletter that comes out once a week, so you can get all the updates from us. We also put in some weekly business and marketing updates in there, as well as some personal notes from me. You can subscribe to that on my LinkedIn, also through the Instagram and in the show notes below. Anyways, that is all from me. I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode. I hope it's a good one, and I'll chat to you soon. By Carrie Johnston of the Comms Connector. Welcome to Founders in Jeans. I'm so excited to have you today.
I am so happy to be here, Emily, and to finally meet you in person.
I know we've been connected on LinkedIn, and for those of you who follow me on LinkedIn, you will have definitely seen Carrie in my comments because she is by far my biggest supporter.
And Emily, just the way you keep it real and your voice as not only a woman but a creator, you're honest, funny, and that just I'm honored to be here, and I'm looking forward to this podcast, and this is what it's all about: helping people, connecting people, and I look forward to diving into the communications, careers, challenges, and, myths, truths. Let's just go for it. So you can ask away.
Great. Well, first of all, for people who don't know you, why don't you give a little bit of a background about yourself?
Okay. My name's Carrie Johnston. I recently launched a communications consultancy called the Comms Connector after, 2 decades working in-house in mostly corporate roles. I actually started in recruitment agency side before moving in-house. I've worked for companies which include PricewaterhouseCoopers, Deutsche Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland. I did a stint in MasterChef Australia season 2 in there. Probably, 9 years ago, I joined boutique corporate affairs agency in Australia, and really identified, I suppose, my passion has always been in helping people see their potential, realize it, and give them tools to, just get where they want to go. And that's what I'm doing now. I was born in the US and I transferred to Sydney University in my final year. as I studied political science and international and government relations. So that was a long time ago. And I've called Sydney home ever since.
So we're both Sydney transplants from
We are.
America.
Yes. Yes. And I do know where San Luis Obispo is.
Perfect. Perfect. Good. You're the best
Um,
guest by far.
yeah. And I said it. Did I say it correctly?
Yes, you
Okay,
did. You
good.
did. Yes. Yeah. Even my boyfriend gets it wrong. So,
Yeah.
so you have described yourself as a connector of people and opportunities. What does that actually mean in your day-to-day work?
So look, no 2 days are the same, but I spend most of my time listening to people, listening to their pain points, whether it's convincing a hiring manager to just look beyond someone's resume, because while they may not look like the obvious match for the job on paper, there's so much more to someone's ability and skill set than what's sometimes in front of someone reading a resume. And the next day I might be talking to a job seeker who may not have considered a certain industry or may not have considered how their skills could be applied to something different. And so for me, those kind of meaningful connections, it's not just recruitment, but it's about positioning people for opportunities. It's about helping them get clarity on what they want and bringing communications professionals together who may not have otherwise met. That to me is what connection's all about. So recruitment's just one part of it. But then there's the coaching people and asking the tough questions, asking really tough questions sometimes and, pushing people to realize, okay, if you want something, you can do it. It might not be easy. You might upset people along the way, but those are real connections.
Right.
And I think it's very important as a communications professional to listen. And yeah, that's what I do every day. Just listen. And then from there, I put the dots together and can make really exciting things happen in between people who may not have met without me.
Yeah. You said that recruitment is a small part, and I totally respect and understand that. But you've also been in this field for 2 decades. What kind of brought you into recruitment in the first place, and why have you stayed in it for so long?
That's a good question. So my dream when I started university and before moving to Australia was to go to Georgetown, do law, and work on the Hill as a political advisor, which is not dissimilar to recruitment. So I found myself staying in Australia. I started working for a company. It was an affiliate company that helped international students with work placements in Sydney. And then once I secured my permanent residency, I was referred to a recruiter, an agency recruiter, just to get some career advice and where could I apply my qualifications. And she said, "Have you ever thought about recruitment?" And I had no idea. And she said, "I think you'd be great. Why don't you come and work for us?" And this is going back. Some people will remember back in the day with temp desks. And so the owner of the agency said, "Look, we have a real gap here. We really need to get this operating, and we need someone to really, connect with the temporary staff and the clients." And she set me some targets of how she wanted to see the revenue coming in. And I think I exceeded it by 3 within a month.
Wow.
And I loved it. I just loved the diversity of people that you meet, solving, helping someone find a job, but also providing, companies with solutions. And one of my clients headhunted me to move in-house, and I never looked back. So I'm a career recruiter. Yes, I fell into it, but I've chosen this path because it's what I love. Sometimes you are a politician. Sometimes you are a reporter. Sometimes you are a negotiator, an influencer, a mediator. It's just got everything that I'm about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had said earlier that recruitment is the easiest part for you. So is that because it comes naturally to you or because you've been doing it for so long?
And when we talk, so just on that, that's a good question. Communications recruitment. If a client came to me and said, "Can you find me a head of IT?" I would say,
Mhm.
absolutely not. But I have built my career in communications, in that
Right.
community, in that sector, and I've got a passion for it, understanding of it, what the
Mhm.
challenges are, how communications professionals can leverage their experience to pursue other career avenues if that's what they choose to do. And I love the community and I'm very embedded in it.
Yeah.
So recruitment, is it easy? No. But for me, it's just such a small part of
Mhm.
the actual offering. But yeah, when a client comes to me and says, "Oh, Carrie, can you help me find head of media relations?" I immediately start going, okay, this person reached out. And I just remember, and I've got because I listen to people, what they want, what their motivations are, I can quickly go, okay, I know exactly who I'm going to call. And that for me is, yeah, that's something I do, you know, with my eyes closed.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think it's such an interesting like side of the industry that I don't get to talk to a lot of people about.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, you told me already you have some answers for this. I'm very curious to hear. What is the most surprising or memorable placement that you've ever made?
Okay. There are two. I can't split them.
Yeah.
And both, okay, one was about 5 years ago. So I'll give you an example. I won't say names just in case, but there was a very, very large global food FMCG organization that engaged me to find them a senior manager of corporate relations to work on media relations, crisis management, issues management, and reputation.
Hmm.
And the director that I was working with, very, very senior, very well regarded in the market. And I knew he would be looking for, not, he would be looking for someone just beyond the resume, right?
Hmm.
And the role was far more complicated in terms of finding the right person because the business had a number of franchisees that had say in how things were managed, because their interests were, their interests were important. So the very, very corporate job. And I put forward someone who had worked most of her career in government, spent 7 years with Parliament New South Wales, was in a government department when I approached her about this role. And she's another example. On paper, probably had she applied directly, would have never got past the application stage. When I presented my recommended list of candidates and I was chatting with the hiring manager, he actually just said to me very bluntly, "Carrie, you need to explain yourself here. I just don't see." And so coming back to connecting again, I gave my reasons why. And anyway, she came out on top and she's still there nearly 5 years later.
Love
So
that.
it was just, I loved it. And
Yeah.
now it's given her experience that she would have never had. And it's also given her, she has now so many options if she were to ever move on that she would have never had before. And then the second one, which happened just a couple of years ago, I've done a lot of work with Taronga Zoo here in Sydney, and I did speak to them earlier, and they didn't mind me mentioning this. I placed Laura on 5 years ago in the head of media relations role, and she went on mat leave last year, and they were really struggling to find someone with not only the skill set, but the people management and someone who would, really just caretake her team and
Hmm.
caretake her role while she was gone. And Taronga had went to market. They just couldn't find someone that just ticked the important boxes. And a day after Laura asked for my help, I met a woman who was 13 years at the ABC as a journalist, had never worked in a client side role, let alone not for profit government. And I remember thinking, you are perfect for this job. You got everything and even some of the editorial work that she had done at the ABC, she was across some of the stakeholders, the ministers that she would need to keep on side, the community around Taronga, the issues, the crisis management. And so I called my client and I said, please, please, please trust me and meet Fiona. And she did, and Fiona's still there. Yeah, it was great. It was great. And again, Fiona said to me, Carrie, I would have never ever got, a look in, because people do have a stigma. Okay, if you stay somewhere too long, or you've come from journalism, you won't be successful. You're competing with people who've worked in-house before. Yeah, so that was those two, definitely the most memorable, and really, yeah, meant a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Such good wins. I'm sure it feels so
Yeah,
good, like,
it
to
does.
hear.
Yeah.
So I think for people listening to this who are, maybe not in the same field, what do you think makes careers in corporate communications unique compared to other fields?
I think the skill sets, the skill and the experience that you get in corporate affairs and communications can be applied to so many different areas.
Hmm.
I've seen communications professionals go on to work in government relations roles, go on to general management roles, go on to CEO roles if that's what they want, advocacy, partnerships, community engagement. I think, communications professionals, can really, break down things in a way that a lot of other professions can't, and really help solve, you know, corporate challenges, manage reputation, elevate brands, and they can do that in so many different ways.
Right.
So I think it's a profession that AI will never replace. I think, organizations, companies, they're always going to need people who can advocate for them, who can tell their story, who can, be, thought leadership, brand recognition, and just it's a skill set I have really seen people be able to pivot into different roles, unlike any other profession.
Mhm.
I think it's very interchangeable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My dad in college, he was majored in communications, but only because he was playing sports. And at the time, he was, I don't know if it was the same when you were at college, but you had to get in line to register for what you wanted your major to be.
Yep, that was me.
Yeah. And he said that communications just had the shortest line. So he was just like, such an athlete, right?
I love that.
And so, so that's what he majored in college. But later, after he graduated, he was like, I actually think I chose the best major because I could do anything I wanted with it
Yeah,
after, could go any route. And I
yeah,
think that's really true.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I've really noticed in recent years, people who do their qualifications in communications really attractive to potential employers. Really
Hmm.
attractive.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really, candidates realize, okay, I had a candidate last year who was working for a PR consultancy, and she was not enjoying it. And she's like, I don't even like public relations. I don't want to talk to journalists all day. I don't want to keep doing this. I said, well, you don't have to.
Yeah.
And then she said, well, what else am I going to do? And I said, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? And so I think realizing sometimes, okay, what you don't want is just as important as working out what you do want.
Yes.
And so she realized, okay, this is not what I want. So she started putting strategies in place to help her focus on how she could pivot.
Hmm.
And she ended up, I actually saw a job on LinkedIn. I wasn't representing the client,
Hmm.
but I saw it and I sent it to her and said, this would be great for you. And she said, but I've never done that. I said, well, yes, you have, sort of. And we broke it down. And anyway, she ended up getting the job because she put so much thought into it, and she was actually able to present herself in terms of, okay, yes, I've worked in, the last 5 years in public relations, and this is an advocacy role. However, this is what I bring and this is what experience is relevant. And I think that is so important. I think it's so important. And she's thriving, absolutely thriving.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love that. I think I wanted to ask you, this is not on the outline, but I am curious, how flexible do you think resumes are? Because I've chatted to a lot of people
Mm.
who they say, well, I had this role and I was at this place, and then I have these things that I worked on. And I think outside of how long you worked there and who you worked for and what your title is, how you speak about what you did is fairly flexible because you can apply it in a range of different ways. Is that your opinion as well, or is that just me wanting to bend the truth a little?
No, I think the key things for a resume, so your qualification, what have you done, your key responsibilities and your key achievements, and not just fluff, actually things that can be measured that you can speak to.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it should
Hmm.
not be, a complete, brain. It really, they need to be, facts, things that you can speak about, like increased, if your social media, increase, engagement on Instagram, increase followers to this, those kinds of tangibles,
Yeah. Yeah.
but not a full, book an essay on yourself.
Right. Right. Of
But you
course.
can, but you can, I think that the main things is to not make, you don't have to overcomplicate a resume. It's
Hmm.
just, okay, this is me. This is what I've done. This is where I've been for, this time. And this is my current role. And these are my achievements. And then, you haven't asked this, but the LinkedIn is far more important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to get into LinkedIn, so I'm going to hold off there. Lots to talk about with LinkedIn. So you touched on AI a little bit. I think a lot of communications professionals are really worried about AI. What do you think are the biggest challenges that comms professionals are going to have right now and in the future? And is AI included in that?
I think comms professionals, particularly those just getting into the field who rely too much on AI to do their writing, are going to find themselves with gaps.
Hmm.
It's an enabler. It's not going to replace how you engage with your audience, how you profile a stakeholder, how you protect reputation of an organization. And I say this, I've had this conversation that many times this week. I mean, it's great, but it's like anything. The information coming out of AI is only as good as the information going in. It's not going to, you can tell automatically, um, and the good, companies who are embracing it and adapting and embedding it are the ones that are leading the way. But people have to be careful. Everyone is catching on. My experience has been, particularly when assessing candidates for jobs, clients are, requiring that they actually go in and sit the writing assessment, because that skill as a communicator is essential. Doesn't matter
Hmm.
what level you are. And I've noticed a decline in people's written communication since AI has really kind of come at the forefront.
For
But
sure.
that is getting picked up on.
Yeah.
It is getting picked up on. And I spoke to someone yesterday who told me that they used AI recently for a case study, and they didn't fact check it, they didn't verify it, and they sent it to the CEO, and
Right.
the information was wrong.
Right.
So you've got to really be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
You've got to really be careful. So I think AI has, if not used as a tool and an enhancer of your job,
Hmm.
it could lead to issues with reputation and brands having to, explain the misinformation. So it's
Right.
really, really important that, but it's not going to replace, you can't have a bot sit down with a CEO to explain, what they're going to be doing in the market. You can't have a bot go to an event, and, it's never going to replace that connection of people.
Hmm. Hmm.
But, and at the other end, if you're not using it and you're not getting creative with the tools and how they can work for you to
Hmm.
support you, you're going to be left behind as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. All good things in good measures or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've seen people, companies, individuals who just go, no, no, not doing this, not doing that. when it comes to AI, either because they don't see its value, they might be nervous and too afraid to ask, or they just don't think it's, relevant. But it is here, and it is going to keep evolving. And I think it's important. It's not going to do your job for you, but it will be very clear if you're using it to do your job.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So then I want for people starting out in their career in communications, where should people be focusing on first? Like, where should they be focusing to start growing their career?
That's a really good question. It's really important, even at the secondary education, even at school level, particularly those doing HSC who are looking to secure a course at university in communications, to start getting mentors and to ensure that they are up to date with the latest industry bodies, following relevant professionals that they can learn from, and actually even just upskilling, interview preparation and going out and having meetings with people. People are very, very, very generous with their time. And for people starting out, I mean, I can't think of anyone I know who would not lend half an hour or an hour to a communications graduate or someone thinking of getting into communications. If you're really passionate about what you do, you want to share that. But I think what I hear from a lot of younger people is the pressure there is to just get the best marks, get into the right university, get the right degree. So really, really trying to, as much as you can at that early stage, not listen to the noise and get yourself immersed in, in what's happening in the industry, whether it's, following pages on social media, and you've got to be up to date on what's happening in media.
For sure.
What's going on in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you help with resumes and LinkedIn glow ups and coaching, a lot of things.
Yeah.
Where do you see most professionals go wrong when they're telling their story?
LinkedIn is.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'm about to do a post on this today. I've had that many conversations this week. I'll get to it, Carrie. I know I need to update it. It is not even an option anymore, Emily. It is. And doesn't matter if you are early, mid, career. It doesn't matter if you are a CEO. Your LinkedIn is your digital story. It's your narrative. It is your voice. And I know I go straight to someone's LinkedIn, even before opening a resume. I guarantee that if you're not visible, and I'm not saying you've got to be on there posting, that's fine, but you need to have a story and you need to have your offering. And I mean, imagine even people not looking for jobs. If I was on LinkedIn and I was looking for a coach or someone to, I don't know, that's the first place I would go. And what do they stand for? How do they present themselves? It's, and I'm still hearing people say, oh,
right.
I've been doing this for so long. People know who I am. That mindset is dangerous.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Outside of LinkedIn, or maybe even as it applies to LinkedIn, is there one piece of career advice that you find yourself giving often, but people are resistant to hearing?
Resistant to hearing. That's a really good question. Well, aside from the LinkedIn, people can be reluctant to network. I don't have time. It is essential if you are job seeking. You've got to actually spend time every day doing something.
Yeah.
And I give that advice all of the time. And it's not always people say, yeah, I know, but do they do it? No. And the people that have been, it doesn't have to be, it could just be one email. It could be one LinkedIn connection. It could be, following a couple of companies on LinkedIn. It just doesn't have to be time intensive. You've got to be doing something every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people don't often listen to that or want to hear it.
Yeah.
And I guarantee those that are doing that are the ones that are keeping current.
Love that. I think that is very good advice and very, very true. Very
it's so true.
Yeah.
I bumped into someone today who he very, very senior in marketing, and his role was unfortunately made redundant a few months ago.
Mm,
And he's doing everything, like
mm,
everything possible. But he is doing something once a day, no excuses, no matter what. And he's just picked up an amazing consultancy contract role with a very, very prominent media figure in Australia because he connected with someone on LinkedIn that connected him with this person. It works. And it's not, but it's not not everyone
thing.
gets it. And some people don't want to hear it.
I think a lot of people think that is really overwhelming. And to that, I would say you can spend 30 minutes sending 5 DMs a day. And by
Yeah.
the end of the month, guaranteed you will have at least one response, but likely a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spend hours a day on it. I mean, it is the nature of what I do. Even from an educational, from a curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the content on LinkedIn has evolved in a more human. I don't know that there's always someone. I've just enjoyed reading about other people's stories of success, even the hard stuff. It's and you know what? It's the reach of it is incredible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I find myself having to turn it off because I'm just fascinated by so many of the creators on there,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting my inspiration.
Yeah.
I get new ideas all the time. And I think if you can, as a job seeker in comms, if you can approach it with that mentality, not just, okay, I've got to look for a job and go on LinkedIn and apply for jobs, but actually use it as a resource,
Yeah.
as information,
Yeah.
it will help you with that job search mindset.
Right. Right. Getting curious.
Getting curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the flip side, looking at this less from an employee, and now I want to talk more about businesses. How do you think businesses can better support women in communication roles beyond just kind of surface level policies? I know that's a bit of a switch there.
Yeah. That's a very good question. I mean, I think, wow, very good question. It's a tricky one, Emily, because I think employers should support employees regardless of male, female. But I do think there needs to be more awareness from employers about the stages, okay, if we're going to be stereotypical, women who balance career and then family, but don't want to compromise their careers because they have kids or be overlooked for promotions because they have kids. I do think employers need, and I think perhaps there should be some programs established
Mm,
to actually support organizations. Actually, you've given me an idea to actually sit down with employers and say, okay, this is the reality. Women have children and they may act like they have it all together, but they don't. I mean, if I look at me, I had a period where how could you not see, like, I think sometimes just sitting people down and asking, are you okay? I think, it's a really hard question.
it's hard. It's hard
It's
too
hard
because,
because you can't, you know, I think employers, even with the best intentions, who offer flexibility and, okay, it might not be company policy, but a manager will say, okay, you can have every other 9-day fortnight. You can leave early to pick up your kids. That's great. I mean, that should just be the normal anyway.
yeah,
But also, a lot of women hide it. They don't talk about it.
right, right.
So it has to be two ways. I
Hmm.
think employers who really value their employees and do check in on them, I think any welfare check for anyone is so important. But I also do think that the responsibility has to also be on the employee to recognize the signs before you hit burnout.
Right.
And really ask yourself, okay, what's working? What do I need from my employer?
Hmm.
But you need employers to be responsive to that and not penalize women for things out of their control.
Hmm.
Menopause, it happens to everyone. And yeah, I think it's both. It's
Yeah.
both. The advice I give to my coaching coaching clients is you don't have to broadcast things that you're going through, but you do need to speak up and not let yourself drown and not let yourself suffer in silence. And if your employer doesn't kind of meet you halfway and kind of support that, well, then you're probably with the wrong employer.
Yeah, I think it's exactly kind of what you were saying, but it's a difficult question because we don't have a lot of examples,
No,
good examples on either end.
no.
I feel like we don't have very many businesses that are actively supporting women in their roles. We also don't have a lot of women who are actively seeking more help in
No.
those roles loudly.
This is a very good, you've got me. This is a very, very, very interesting
Hmm.
topic, Ellie, and um, one I want to think about after we wrap this up because it is very much the responsibility of employers and employees. Okay, if you've had a really traumatic experience, let's say I heard a company putting in a policy, if a baby was born, unresponsive, those parents would be given extra leave, and those are wonderful initiatives.
Hmm.
But that just, where does the support after that? That's probably more important is supporting people through things that they may not really be comfortable sharing
Right.
with their colleagues and with their team members.
Right.
And so how do we get people talking about that, in a way that's, honest and also how, but I do think, and I do say to people, if your employer is unwilling or to work with you and to support you through whatever it is you're going through, then you probably have to ask, is it time to think about something
100%.
else? Yeah. My dad passed away 3 years ago,
I'm so sorry.
and thank you. And I grieve him every day. And like the anniversary of his passing is next month.
Mm,
His birthday was last week, and I find myself thinking about him, feeling him more now than ever. And that's 3 years.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I think sometimes these policies are put in place to tick a box.
Yes.
Okay, we'll tick that off. We've got the bereavement policy. We've covered off parental leave. We've covered. It's. I'd rather not have it,
Right.
and I'd rather see employers, work with individuals who are experiencing loss like that in a way that they feel they can come back to work in whatever capacity that works for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if I think about when my dad passed, my employer at the time was, Carrie, do what you need to do. Do what you need to do. Don't feel any pressure. We're here to help. I got on a plane, went to the US, and I stayed there for a month. No questions, no, what's happening. And they knew, like I knew that if I wanted to start working remotely while I was there, I could. And if I didn't, fine.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's what it should be like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't think I would have got through, the months and even the year that followed had I been, okay, you can have 3 days leave and then we forget about it.
The frustrating part about that as well is if you are lucky to live long enough, everybody will experience that sooner or
Yeah.
later. Everyone will experience a loss of a parent or a
Yeah.
sibling or a friend, whatever it may be. So when those policies are not put in place to be reflective of that personal experience that everyone is going to go through, it's really frustrating. It's like heartbreaking. It
It's
really is.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. And there are companies who do have policies here. I've spoken to people who've worked for organizations who have such conditions, but then whose managers will say, you know what, you just do what you need to do.
Mm,
So I do think there are companies might have policies, but what's most important is who you're working with and the team that you're working for. And okay, the policy says this, but, this is traumatic and,
right.
you need to do what you need to do. And those are the things that I would advise people to look for when they're looking at, not just the employer, but look at who you're going to be working with. But yeah, that for me is, it's so important. There is no timeline on grief.
Yeah.
And it's a very,
Yeah.
it's not linear for anyone.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I want to do some rapid fires with you to wrap up. I know we haven't even begun to touch on everything, but yeah, are you okay with rapid fire?
Absolutely. But yes, there's so much we can explore, but go for it, Emily.
Okay, perfect. Okay, first question: what is the most underrated career skill?
Writing.
Good answer. Good answer.
Writing. Writing. Everyone thinks they can do it, and writing, definitely.
Love it. Second question: what is the worst interview question ever?
Oh, I've got a good one. A candidate that I put up for a job was going for an interview with a restaurant chain and was asked, if you were a menu item, what would you be and why?
Okay. Trying to think of how I'd answer that myself.
Me too.
Yeah.
That I just thought, okay.
That one would stump me for sure. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Well, good answer.
It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. What is one LinkedIn trend you secretly love?
I love when people comment on others' posts. I think that is just so underrated.
Agreed. Agreed. There's so much community in the LinkedIn comments.
It is. And it just, everything from, insightful to funny to brave. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. That's I think, the commenting on other people's posts is really underrated.
That is a really good answer. What is one piece of career advice you would give to your younger self?
That you don't have to have it all figured out and to block out the noise and follow your intuition and follow your gut and not try to please everyone.
Love it. Perfect. Last question. Do you have a book or a resource or a course that you can recommend to budding entrepreneurs?
A good question. Well, I'm a month in, so I'll have to come back to you on that.
Okay. No worries.
Yeah.
I'll take that answer. Carrie, I'm so glad and so excited I got to have you on. I feel like this is going to be such a good episode. People are really going to be excited to hear this. Where can people find you and where can they join your platform, connect with you, all those things?
So I have my main platform is LinkedIn. So Carrie, Johnston, the comms connector. I do have a LinkedIn company page. My email address, my mobile number, love a phone call, send me a LinkedIn. Website and Instagram are following, but I just haven't had time.
That's fine. That's normal. LinkedIn where you can be anyway.
Yeah. So, but no, that's LinkedIn definitely is the way to go.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
Thanks, Emily.
Well, thank you, Carrie. I'm so excited I got to have you on. And obviously all of that will be linked in the show notes. But yeah, this has been such a good conversation.
This has been really, really, really good. And again, you've given me so much to think about. And this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Asking questions, having real conversations. And this is what people appreciate. And I really, I'm so grateful for the chance to sit down with you and talk about this because it's really important. And this means a lot. So it's been fun.